You're watching Past the Wire TV.
Welcome into another episode of Sunday Morning Coffee on Past the Wire TV. I am Big Race Jim, back after a week at Oaklawn where I got this cool hat. Good to be back with you. Thank you to Amwager, Tampa Bay Downs, Pleasant Acres, Shorebet Coffee, Spendthrift Farm. You name it, they're behind us, helping us bring you this show each and every week for the most part. And shout out to Oaklawn. That hotel there was dynamite. The casino was awesome. The food in town, we did not have a bad meal for the 3 or 4 days that we were there. And that was, restaurants at the hotel and in town as well. The ladies enjoyed their spa time. So all great stuff at Oaklawn. And maybe I mentioned it a few weeks ago, or maybe it's common knowledge, but it seems like on the whole, it is difficult to make up ground at Oaklawn. You want to be forwardly placed, and I'm just going to pull up the stats here. And that was evident yesterday on Saturday during the Smarty Jones card. And one critical thing that I'm going to get into here as I pull up these stats real quick. So going into Saturday in 6 furlong races on dirt, which they really only run 3 distances there for the most part. 6 furlongs, a mile, and a mile and a 16th. And I'll go through all of these. But I was looking at it as I was handicapping the card today, and we'll talk about how this works with pace points, which was on fire Saturday at Oaklawn. Just looking at the Brisnet stats for 6 furlong dirt races going into Saturday. 58, this sounds crazy. 58% of winners at the 6 furlong distance are early speed or those presser types. And Brisnet lays this out really well. Each race has this track bias stats, and they give you the meet totals and they give you the week totals. And the meet totals, 56 races run at 6 furlongs coming into Saturday, 58% were won by horses either on the lead or pressing that early pace. In the last week, 15 races at 6 furlongs on the dirt, 74% in the last week, with a 33% wire-to-wire rate. Meet total wire-to-wire rate is 25%. So in the last week, the winner had an average beaten length of 1.5 lengths at the first call and just over 1 length at the second call. So what does this tell us? This tells us that you want to break from the gate and you want to get on the lead. And that was evident last week in the couple days that I was there playing, and it's been evident in the last couple days playing from home. And these stats bear it out. So that's another reason why I really enjoy the Brisnet stuff. And unfortunately, I can't show it. They get upset if I show it. So anyway, you want to be on the lead at Oaklawn at the 6 furlong distance. Let me see if I can read some stats off quick at a mile. A mile, holy cow. It's even more prominent. Quick math, 82%. 82% on the lead or pressing that early pace. Just over one beaten length at the first point of call and less than a length at the second point of call. So again, you want to be on the lead at Oaklawn and like hugely on the lead. So what I thought would be interesting on this show, as I've been talking about pace points, I want to show you the pace points from Saturday at Oaklawn. And on the whole, 5 of the 11 races today, the early pace point, that first fraction rank, 5 of the 11 winners today, so nearly 50%, were we either had them ranked first or second. Almost 50% of the winners today, and that included a couple of really nice priced horses. So this first one, the first race, and we'll show you a couple of replays. NZ Holly 2 on the pace point won the first race. Azteca Warrior 1 on the pace point won the second race at ridiculous. I think she paid like, I don't know, $28 or something. Here, which one was this? I think we missed the third. The fourth, this Obliteration, number 2. This Reclamation, number 1, right? So we have these horses and pace points to help us get a really good sense of who is going to be on the lead. So let's take a look. I'll drop this and we'll show some replays. Let's just take a look at this first race and see what the 2 does.
Today. Good luck. We're ready to go. We're off and running.
What happens with the
Smarty
2?
Jones Day 2026. Silvertown away alertly strides
Just
in front
out
of
there.
NZ Holly to the lead here with Silvertown, who's a half length back. Ducat the first time starter.
Took them all the way around.
Horses take second. NZ Holly
All right.
has the lead narrowly from
So
Ducat. Silvertown runs
these
in the
pace
position.
points,
Evanston
especially
down on
with the
inside
way
of horses.
the
Famous Fair out there.
stats,
Pip has no sense in that line of runners. A joint third with a half mile to go.
I like Matt Dinnerman,
Behind that,
but no sense in me trying to talk over him. When these stats that we're looking at over last week, over the meet as a whole, are showing us how powerful and how prominent these early runners are, we need to be able to rely on a product like Pace Points that helps us identify these horses. At 2 is 4-1. Morning line, third choice, looking at it. Ran away. Very difficult to make up ground there, right? It was a merry-go-round. Okay? So I think it's very critical that we pay attention to what these pace points are telling us, because I'm just going to look at this really quickly, because this is super interesting. NZ Holly, the 2 horse that we saw break alertly and take them all the way around, only had 1 prior start on the synthetic at Turfway, so perhaps she appreciated the dirt, which is all well and good. But looking at her first race, started in 7th. At the first point of call in a 6.5 furlong, she was in 5th, 4 lengths back. The second point of call, she was in 6th, 4.5 lengths back. The top of the straightaway, the top of the stretch, sorry, 9th, almost 9 lengths back. Finished 9th, 14 lengths back. What in there would suggest to you that she would be quickest out of the gate? Probably nothing. So maybe the blinkers. Okay, I get that. Blinkers on. First time blinkers, second career start. Sure. Right? But this is how we use pace points again in tandem with our normal handicapping process, because there's nothing in her running line that would suggest that she would be forwardly placed off of 1 career start. So pace points helps us identify that, because we are, myself, John, Eddie C, we are laying out these rankings in correspondence and correlation and relative, whatever word you want to use. I think one of those is probably correct grammatically, against the rest of the field. And we had NZ Holly rated as second highest early fraction rank, and nothing in there would have suggested that she would be on the lead other than the pace points. So a really solid product there. Let's take a look at race 5. Let's see if we can share this.
Red to round out the field.
Right, and this was
Go again.
the
We're
8
ready to go. And
Reclamation.
uneventful break for all the maidens. Reclamation going to the lead here.
Broke alertly.
From Mr. Fancy Pants runs in the second. Predator's Ball moving forward.
And she's out there at 6-1.
Predator's Ball can't get through down at the rail. Is going to take back. Violence in red claims the second position. Mr. Fancy Pants between horses. Predator's Ball had to steady just ever so briefly. He's back and forth.
I'm trying to get to
the pace. Link back to Tis Authority
her
as they go to the far
PPs to
turn.
see.
Loba is sent along from the 6th position, 4 deep. Gap of 4 to Torch. Then comes Just JoJo as they round that turn is plummeting back, gap of 5 to Bienville and Midnight Menace as they round
So
the
just
far
looking
turn.
at
Reclamation
her
is the leader
PPs here,
Reclamation a half length.
you could
Violence
get
in
a
red is
sense that
second.
she wanted to
Mr.
be
Fancy
forward.
Pants is third. By
First
11
career
seconds into
race
the race with Tis
2
a
weeks
Thorny
ago,
and the swing
a little
onto the
over
turn.
3 weeks
Reclamation gets
ago
going.
at
Reclamation has
Oaklawn.
opened up a 4-length lead approaching
Broke
the
alertly,
furlong pole. The
was
rest appear to be
pressing the
battling
early
for the leader
pace,
positions at this point.
and just
Reclamation
kind
has
of
gained the
got
16
worn
footer.
out.
He's got a
Got worn out
6-length
late.
lead, and
So
Reclamation is going to
second
get it.
career start,
Reclamation
you
by
could argue
4 coming to the
she
finish,
wanted
and then
one,
battling
but
for second
you
here are
knew that this
Wilkins
horse was
Involved and also
going
Bienville.
to
They hit it
was
together,
going to
battling for the
be
second spot.
was
Then
going to
just
be
JoJo
forward.
and Mr. Fancy Pants.
And the pace points, as I'll show you, confirmed that. As she was going to be one of our highest ranked horses early. Now, of course, this is a maiden race, so there were a handful of horses that we didn't have enough data to go on. They hadn't started yet. So, when you do see the NA in there, that means that there is just, they don't have any career starts. There's just not much to go off of. So, admittedly, you're going a little bit blind with some of these maiden races where there isn't a ton of data. But again, I think that having the pace points gives you an edge in knowing who is going to be, of the ones that we have data for, who is going to be, in our estimation, which was pretty spot on Saturday at Oaklawn, who is going to be forwardly placed. And when you couple that with your normal handicapping process, along with what the meet statistics are telling us at Oaklawn, you want to be forward early, having a really good sense of who is going to be forward early through the pace points is such an advantage. Such an advantage. And we saw it with two races that I just showed you, with horses that were, third choice. Reclamation ended up at 6-1, went off at, so second or third choice in there. The other one I showed you was third choice at 4-1. So having the ability and having a tool to give us a clearer representation of what the early parts of the race are going to look like, I think is a tremendous, tremendous advantage for us as handicappers, especially in a meet like Oaklawn, where everything is starting early and we're going to watch the Smarty Jones here in a second. But at a meet like Oaklawn, where everything needs to be early, right? And the interesting thing too that I noticed when I was there was that it seemed like later in the day, some horses had a little bit better time making up ground, and I think that was what we ultimately saw Saturday at Oaklawn too. Towards the back half of the card, horses were making up a little bit of ground, but nevertheless, 5 of the 11 races were won by horses that we had ranked 1 or 2 in the early pace point, that first fraction rank on Saturday at Oaklawn. Let's take a look at the Smarty Jones, just because that was the big race there. We'll take a spin through that.
Side post.
And we'll kind of watch this together.
Smarty Jones and Lara.
So on the pace point, Oscar's Hope was ranked 1. Scarship, the 8, was ranked 2. And again, it's just that doesn't mean the 6 is going to be in first, the 8 is going to be in second. It just means, 1, 2, 3, or 4 is how I use it to get a good sense of which horses are going to be forwardly placed and setting the initial pace. And it's interesting when you see a horse like Scarship, 12-1 on the morning line, floats all the way up to 51, 51-1, clearly cold as ice on the board. And these horses that, based on the betting odds have like no chance to win, do determine the outcome of the race. So I think this Strategic Risk ran a bang up race, perfect trip, and ran really well. But even at like 51-1 odds, this 8 I thought hung on as well as could be expected. Silent Tactic, this 4, we had ranked 3rd in the late pace point, and outside this 7, nobody was catching the 7. The 4 ran the 4 ran the best towards the end of the race in my estimation. We'll watch the replay a couple times and see, but it looked like the 4 had some real solid closing power, as did the 2. I thought the 2 ran a nice race. The other horse that we had ranked pretty high early and late was the 3 Boca Beach Club, which scratched. So you can just draw a line through that one. But like we saw early in the race, the 8 and the 6, which we had ranked 1 and 3, set the early pace. And this 7, was able to take advantage of a really solid trip and a really decent closing kick. And our rankings didn't have this source super high early or late, but again, the beneficiary of getting out in front early, having a good stalking trip, and being able to run away from everybody late, just an ideal setup at Oaklawn, like we've been talking about. We'll take this down and I'll show you what I was looking at. Sorry, just have to keep going back and forth. Yeah, so Scarship, we had ranked 3rd, essentially 2nd with the scratch of Boca Beach Club. Oscar's Hope, we had ranked 1st. And that was pretty spot on. Those 2 went out there. So again, like we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, this allows you to get a more confident sense of what the race is going to look like and how things are going to shape up and set up. So then you can use your other handicapping to figure out what things will ultimately look like, and you can get a more confident picture in your mind of how things are going to flow from start to finish. And like we've been talking about, Pace Points has been absolutely fantastic with helping us decipher what horses are going to be where at any point of the race, but especially early at a place like Oaklawn, where you want to be forward. You really want to be forward. So if you guys got any questions, drop them in the comments. This stuff's available on pastthewire.com every weekend, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. So if you're interested, let us know. You could just check out right on the website. So all really good stuff. I was really impressed with pace points today. I'm recording this later on Saturday, but Saturday at Oaklawn, really impressed with how it just kind of helped you decipher and make heads or tails of the races and see who's going to be where to allow you to make more informed and more confident decisions. I'm going to take a quick break and I'll come back and I will share some of my Eclipse Award ballot with everybody. Stick around. Go. Did Sovereignty do enough for Horse of the Year honors? Yes, he did. I wasn't really close, I don't think. And that was an easy sort of layup. The older horse division, no real standout there. Maybe Nysos, you could argue, just given the number of stakes wins he had. But he was never really running at that classic distance, which, let's face it, the Horse of the Year is like quarterbacks winning the MVP in the NFL, right? Like if you're not a quarterback, you need to be exceptional to be considered for Horse of the Year. I thought She's So Spicy had a little bit of a case. I put her second in my Horse of the Year rankings, and Ted Noffey third as the top 2-year-old male in my ballot. Actual voter this year, which is cool, given all the work I've been doing for Blood Horse and America's Best Racing, member of the NTWAB, which I'm very grateful for. So it's very exciting to be able to submit an official ballot. But like I said, Sovereignty Horse of the Year, Ted Noffey, 2-year-old filly. I went with Sci-Fair. I thought she was super impressive in the Breeders' Cup. 3-year-old male, Sovereignty over Journalism. Put Patch Adams in third. 3-year-old filly, She's So Spicy over Nitrogen and Lush Lips. Older dirt male, I put Nysos over Sierra Leone. Older dirt female, I put Splendora over Torpedo Anna and Hope Road. Male sprinter, I took Ben Tornado off of his huge Breeders' Cup effort over Bookham Dano and Patch Adams. Female sprinter, I went with She's So Spicy over Splendora. The male turf horse, I think, is an interesting one. And a ton of different ways I think people can go on this. Notable Speech had 2 starts in North America, 2 grade ones, and he won them both, which is impressive. And my initial run through it all, I put him on top, but the more I looked at it, I ended up switching it and I went with Deterministic as the top male turf horse. Given the run he had at Saratoga, just winning all the big turf stakes at Saratoga, obviously based in New York, based in the US. Notable Speech did have the two starts in North America, but was ultimately based overseas for most of the year and just came over to get one prep in for the Breeders' Cup and then run in the Breeders' Cup. I didn't really consider any horse that wasn't based in the US or North America, so it was tough for me to give Forever Young the Horse of the Year honors, even though he did win the Breeders' Cup Classic, arguably one of the more competitive renditions we've seen of that. He beat all the top US North American based older horses, but it was tough for me to consider a horse like that that only made one start, even though they are eligible based off of that one start. And I know that can be somewhat contradictory to selecting Ben Tornado, who had 2 starts all year, but that Breeders' Cup was just something special. So that's why I gave him the nod over Bookham Dano. Anyway, let me know what you think. Think I got it right? Think I got it wrong? Let me know who you think you would pick for all of those different categories. Drop them in the comments. And that's it. That's all I got. Pace points, crushing it at Oaklawn. You want to be out in front there. Very tough to make up some ground, as we've seen with some of those statistics from Brisnet, which can be super helpful. So shout out Brisnet. That's it. We're going to wrap it up. Sunday morning coffee on Past the Wire TV. I am Big Race Jim. Shout out Amwager, Shorebet Coffee, Tampa Bay Downs, celebrating a century of racing. Pleasant Acres, Spencer Farm. Thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in week after week. I hope you find some value in this. If you do, let me know in the comments. If you don't, also let me know in the comments. Let me know what we can do to improve. Have a great week.
Sovereignty, and they square off, head into the final front. Sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Past the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.